This is the first time we've ever had you on the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast, so it's exciting.
It is very exciting. I've always wanted to talk about the end of the lake that you don't hear too much about, which is the North Shore side. You don't hear that one too often.
Well, that and just to be able to talk to some Canadians in person again now after the last couple,
no kidding,
we can get you here without smuggling you across the border.
Nobody needs to know about that.
Yeah.
So Sergio, first of all, just tell us about your charter and what you've got going on.
So I primarily fish out of Oakville, Bronte, Ontario, Canada. So a lot of people know about the Bluffs. So I'm on the west side of that. So it goes Bluffers, Port Credit. I'm at Bronte. So I'm pretty much straight south from St. Catharines. Straight north from St. Catharines.
Okay.
Which would be about, if I wanted to boat from Bronte over to the bar, which everybody knows about, the famous bar, it's about 45 minutes, an hour, depending on water conditions and how fast you're boating, but it's a pretty good run. And like I said, both sides of the lake are really good fishing. It just depends on the time of the year, right? Like if you want to fish the spring, the south side's the time to be. 100%, that's where you want to be. As the water temps change, the fish start to move east, so then that takes you over to Bluffers, Coburg. I usually say Bluffers because that's really well-known spot on the Great Lakes. Is that clay drop-off is just, when they're there. There's no denying it. And then by mid-July, August, Bronte's known for their stagers, which is the really big fish getting ready to go up the river because we have Bronte Creek right there. And that's when you want to start running those big paddles, those meats, those J-plugs. And that's what happens is you start getting those trophy fish and things like that on that side of the lake. But in the spring, if you want to fish on the north side, where I'm from, you get a lot of, I'm going to say, a mix of good size of rainbows, really good size rainbows on that side of the lake as well. And you get lake trout are there down low. So it's a great spot. Depends where you want to drive from as well, right? If you're a person that lives on that side of the lake and you want to drive too far, you can fish on the north side 100%. If you're a person that likes to travel and you really want to get into Big Kings really fast first thing in the spring, you want to go to the south side. There's no hands down about that. It's the side you want to be on. Absolutely.
So we've had a couple of different people on from Bluffers, but again, you're the first one coming in from Bronte, so good to have you here to talk about this. And tell us a little bit about the structure. You talked about the drop off there out of Bluffers, and it's something that we talk about whenever we talk about that port. What's that structure like coming out of the harbor there in Bronte?
Pretty much, as soon as you come out of the harbor at Bronte, within, I'm going to say, honestly, you don't even have to power up. You're ready at 60, 70 feet. Like, it's pretty flat. You want to get out into the deep waters, you're probably about 5-minute boat ride at 25 miles an hour. You're probably ready in 130, 140 easily. Very flat over there. We don't have any drop-offs or anything like that. But there's a spot there, they call it the Bronte Bowl, where the structure comes up really high. It's like a little bowl. And stagers like to sit around there. So it comes up and they sit on the outside of that ring. They call it the Bronte Bowl. It's hidden gem. Well, it's not really hidden because everybody knows about it now over the years. Like, secrets slip out, and fishing's really not a secret
There's
anymore.
no secret spots anymore.
No,
exactly.
There's no secret spots. There's no secret rigs.
Right.
Back then, as you guys know, people wouldn't talk about, hey, how do you run meat? How do you run cut bait, stuff like that. Now there's YouTube videos. It's all out there. Nothing's really hitting anymore. Yeah. There's no secrets to fishing anymore. And to be honest with you, when you're out there, it's all about having a good time anyways. Yeah, the derbies are on. You want to catch the biggest fish, but chances are everybody's pretty much doing the exact same thing you're doing. They're running meat, they're running flies, they're running big paddles, short leads, long leads, things like that. Like, nothing really changes on that side.
You say there's no secrets in fishing anymore. There's lots of information out there. In a case like that, I think that's really interesting that we talk about that. How do you separate yourself as an angler? How do you we talk about beating each other. Last night I think we were talking about beating the other anglers, but how do you beat the fish when everybody knows how to catch them?
So a lot of the things is people like to go out with their greens, the blues, and everybody loves to fish for some reason. You guys have seen it all. We've all seen it. There's a pack of boats in a certain area. Everybody loves to fish that same pack. And to be honest with you, that's the worst place to be because these fish are getting pushed so hard. They're getting beat up. You're going to want to be on the outside of that pack. And if they're running greens, blues, run something different because it's like going to the restaurant and seeing the same food all the time. You want to see a different color, different speed, different variation, different style. So you want to be different. So if they're all running blues, greens, switch over to an orange. Run something black. Run something different. You want to be different.
And you're seeing success doing those types of things?
We had a really great season last year. Like, we cannot complain. A lot of the clients that went out with us, we caught quite a bit of fish, rainbows, salmon. Some of them we actually almost made the top 10 of the week for the Silver Salmon Challenge, which we participate in. Just a couple ounces short. We couldn't get into that top 10, but we did our best to get clients on the fish as best as we could.
Okay. You said, early in the season, it's kind of a steelhead rainbow type fishery. Then you've got those stagers coming in late. What's a midsummer out of Browning? What's that like? What are you chasing at that time?
You have a mix of all of them, actually.
Mixed bag fishing.
Yeah, you run spoons, you'll bump into Lakers, steelhead, you'll run into salmon. So it's a bunch of mix, but if you want to target the big kings, you want to run flies and the meat down low, 100%.
You talked about your depths. What is that bottom structure? What do you have down there? Is it sand? Is it clay? What do you got down there?
Sand. Not sand. It's like clay bottom, clay and mud. It's a big mix on there. So usually when they're staging, you want to be about a foot or two off bottom. Because when they're getting staged, they have their pink bellies, they're rubbing against the mud. So you want to be right in that target depth. This way you want to be at like a foot away. And that's where J plugs and flies are really good if you can target them good.
Okay.
And short leads on meat so you can control the height of them, right? Or even weighted steel when they're staging is really, really good too. Really easy math to do, everything like that.
When do those fish actually start staging? I mean, it seems like some ports now you're seeing those, quote unquote stagers earlier and earlier. I mean, when do you guys start to actually look for fish that are kind of starting to get ready?
I'd say the end of July, beginning of August, the temps there, you start to see the bait fish pushing in, you start to see all that. And that's kind of a tattletale. Hey, the water's really warm. You're waiting for the rain, for it to cool down, for them to go up the creek. So you start coming into your 70s, 80s, 90 feet of water right there. And the creek's just right there. There's a nice hole pretty much where all the...
So they can, when it's right, they shoot up pretty quick.
100%. You'll actually see them stacking up on the sonar like a cord of wood. They're just stacked there, sitting, waiting to go up. So...
Cool. We're visiting with Captain Sergio Ferreira. We're talking North Shore Lake Ontario salmon fishing, steelhead fishing. Sergio, what are you running for a boat?
We run, actually, I was running a Sea Fox last season, a 26-foot Sea Fox, which we did a pretty good sized group. We can do 5 guys, no problem. And this year we're actually going up into a Lures tournament series, 30-footer.
Okay.
So we're changing our style, changing our boats. We can accommodate bigger groups and right. You want to be out there, have a good time,
comfortable. Yep.
And with having a good time on our boat, safety's a priority all the time. Like fishing, catching fish is number 2. Number 1 is always a safe time. You want to go back to land the way you came
right.
onto the water, right? For a group of guys, I'll usually run 6 to 8 rods. It's really comfortable. I don't have to worry about things tangling because everything's pretty spread out. And I'll always put out, I'm going to say, is my meats. My meats, followed by spoons, followed by flies. Spoons up high to get those rainbows and things like that, and that's what we start doing. We have our spots that we're used to. We know where the fish are because even before charters, I'm always watching the winds, right? As you know, the winds, top current, bottom current are different, so we're always watching where the winds go. Winds have your temps. Your temps have the fish that you want, and that's when it comes down to using the fish hawk a lot. Is we're staying on top of fish because we know where the patterns are happening just by watching the weather and having a fish hawk all at the same time.
So you're pretty much running a mixed spread all year. I mean, so you've got meat and spoons just because you've got a multi-species fishery and you're trying to 100%, capitalize on all those species at the same time.
100%. So we don't just stick to one program.
Not just running a straight meat program. You're running spoons stay in the spread all year, as opposed to some ports, they might fish spoons in the spring and then they go away for 60 days or something like that.
No, we always run a whole mix. You want to increase your chances of fishing, catching fish. You want to be able to target a wider variety instead of just one set of species. Right. So that's how we do it.
You gonna make it over there, Chris?
Well, if I'm not hitting the cough drops all the time, I'm struggling right now.
I got your back, man.
I'm a warrior.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep going. Tell me about the electronics you get on board and how you're kind of using them as a system to put more fish in the boat.
So we run a lot of Simrad with the Airmar TM165, and I have one sonar. I have strictly just C maps, so I can see bottom composition, hard, soft. As you know, the new C maps, It's color coded. It works really great.
That's cool.
And then we have our Airmar 165 TM set up with 200 kilohertz cone because we find that has a better return. I'm not too worried on what's the outside of my boat. I want to know what's behind the boat.
You want to see that resolution, yeah.
I want to see everything that's happening behind the boat. And then I'll usually put it within a foot or 2 range. And for example, morning, I'm going to use shorter leads because, as you know, salmon are a lot more aggressive in the morning. So you want to use shorter leads, get them to come in, get them fighting, get them going. And then as the sun goes out, we start to go deeper. But that being said, there's a fine line of going deeper with a long lead and a short lead. So when you're getting past that 85 to 80 to 100 foot mark, you don't want to have 40, 60 foot lead because your ball is going to be down there, but
you're talking the lead from the ball, the stretch from the ball is what you're talking. Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, you're down 120 feet. If you're having a 40, 50 foot lead, your cannonball is going to be down there, but your meat rig or fly and paddle are going to be way up there.
Tangletown.
Exactly. I'm not getting. So you're going to see streakers and stuff. You're not able to produce results because, the ball's there, but you don't have your rigs there. Your stuff you want there, ready to go.
All right, we got a question here from Nick Cook, and Nick has asked a few captains this question. I think he wants to know how active you are on the boat. He says on slow days, how often do you change out the gear?
So, great question. We hear that quite a bit. So what to do is we all have that go-to rig, right? Everybody has their favorite spoon, their favorite fly, their favorite flasher. So I always put that out right away. For example, GRC, I'm going to use a blue-green squid rig on the Dreamweaver Glow Frog Spin Doctor. Like that's 100% our go-to first thing in the morning. Starter leads. If the fish aren't biting, I don't set everything up the same all the time. I have that one set of go-to, which is usually those 2 flies and the meat rig. If I start seeing streakers, before I even touch anything, I'm going to speed it up. I'm like, these guys want faster speeds today. They want a different style of roll. That doesn't work. I'll slow down. I'll go the opposite way. I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. Once again, I'm still leaving the rods in the water. Because as soon as I start taking rods out, it's a whole different ball game there. That doesn't work. We go over to, I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's try something different today. Let's go really long lead. That doesn't work. Then I start changing colors that I used the season before. At the end of the season that was working, so I go back. So I start to do a restart.
So you're playing with speed and lead before you're playing with color.
100%.
I think that's kind of interesting.
Right. I think it's super interesting. That's something
because it's efficient.
We talked to Lance on Thursday, Lance Valentine, and that's pretty much exactly what he preaches. But I think, to your point, Nick's question is a question that he's been asking a lot of captains. Is a question that a lot of your customers, I'm sure, ask you when they call you before they book you. Yeah. It's like, well, how often do you change the gear? And, Lance will sit here and tell you, well, that's like the 7th or 8th thing that you should be doing. What you're talking about is really what you should be doing right away, is trying to find what the fish want the speed, because Lance is saying if you don't have that speed right, you don't have, you're not doing the presentation right, what you have tied on to the end doesn't really matter. So it's super interesting. It's a great point, and the way that you're doing it. I think if you look at the things that Lance Valentine's teaching and you talk to a lot of captains, that's really what you should be doing first.
Yeah, the first thing comes down to speed. If it was catching fish yesterday, chances are it's going to catch fish today. The only thing is the current change, temperature change. All that has various factors in there, and that's what you want to find out. You want to let the fish tell you what they want that day. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, don't fish memories.
Right.
Fish what's going on today, not what you fished yesterday.
And to Trevor's point too, it's a lot more efficient to mess with that speed than to
I don't have to
rig 10 rods.
Yeah, I'm not pulling my lines out of the water to re-rig. I'm just it's like, well, let's try this first, and then if you have to do that, you have to do that. But
that's usually our very last resort. When you have to start pulling rods, that gets messy. You start to lose track of, wait, what did I have there before? Did I already run this? Because it's all these rods, you really have a hard time tracking what you had, where you had it, how deep you had it. So speeds is the first thing you want to play with right away. Speeds and leads.
Yeah.
That's
speeds and leads. I can remember that.
That's really good.
I like that. Speeds and leads.
Well, you brought up flies, and I see the shirt you got says GRC Trolling Flies. The booth is right across the hall from us here. Tell us a little bit about that. First, just tell us about your partnership with that company.
So Pat pretty much started out really good. Like he started off in a semi truck there as a hobby, and he grew to what you see today. He makes a really great product. Honestly, I've been running his flies, and that's actually pretty much all I run on my boat is all GRC, because even after taking a beating, catching fish, his product still stands. Like the strands are not rigs. His squid rigs aren't drying and cracking, which we've all seen in the past. Squid rigs do that. And then he's got exclusive license for E-chip now, and that's a really big game changer, especially on flies with that electric current coming out of that E-chip. That is a great game changer. Really good game changer.
You talk a little bit more about the different products and what you'd find if you're going to go to their website, grctrollingflies.com.
Yeah, they have all the colors. They have a tournament series. They have a live series. They have a glow series. They have regular meat rigs. They have squid rigs. They got it all there. If you guys are interested in what I like to run, he actually has a pro pack set up for his pro staff of our go-to. So if you open my pro pack, you're going to see the blue-green squid rig. You're going to see the glow goes. Pretty much all my go-tos are there. So a lot of the people sometimes ask, hey, what do you run? And I say, well,
You can direct them there, and
the pro pack's there, and he actually throws a really good deal. So you get 3 meat rigs and 3 flies to start off through his combo packages, and it's great. Great way to get started. Very great way.
All right, we got a question here from Jim, and again, Jim, very active on the show. I think he's probably watched every segment. He wants to know if you ever pop riggers to get a reaction bite.
So I watch the fish finder. If I see streakers, I won't actually pop the rigger, but if you have Scotties, you know they pivot.
Yeah.
So
You picked the boom.
I like to pick the boom up.
There's a pro tip. That's a pro tip.
I like to grab that boom and shake it. And a lot of the times I'm going to say it.
Shake it like a Polaroid.
Yeah, I just yank on it. I'll hold it there. I'll put it back down, and I'll yank it right back. We got to go slow so you don't pop the rod. I've done that.
So we're not going to shake it like a Polaroid.
We're going to pull it. That's a pro tip. I know that. I mean, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that working.
Right. So you change the action, speed, everything right there on one stop just by pulling up that boom.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say out of 10 times when I do that, I'm going to say 5 times a fish will hit as you're pulling it up, because now they're chasing it. They're
accelerating away.
They're accelerating right at it. As soon as you start getting to that pivot point, watch that rod, because it's going to pop right away. Like, it's phenomenal. Yeah. I actually seen that an older captain that comes out of report, Jay Wilson from Tamo Charters, he actually taught me about that. So it's really cool. Like, where are you guys from? Like, everybody's different from their ports. But out of Bronte, like, we have a close group of guys. For example, me and Matt Bowman, Jay Wilson from Tamo, and Matt from Real Knockoffs. We work as a team because at the end of the day, we're all there to make the clients have a good time and catch fish. We're not really competing with each other. It's not a tournament like that. Yeah. You're out there to have fun and create memories, because that's what fishing really is all about. Because at the end of the day, you walk away with memories, and that's really all you got to take from it. Memories, you learn things on the water, you have a great time with family. You're not going to talk about so-and-so. You're going to talk about how many fish you caught, what happened on the boat, what we were doing. That's what it all comes down to, right?
Yeah, Bob Songen was just on the show basically saying the same thing. He's like, I want people to go home and say, I had a great time. And in his case, it'd be an Oak Orchard. In your case, it'd be Bronte. He wants people to go back to their hometown and go, this is where you should go 100%. If you want to go fishing.
100%.
Working together and kind of marketing together is going to be a really good thing for all of you guys.
Because you get along and people are like, oh, wow, they're not butting heads. And people don't want to be in a negative environment like that. Nobody wants to be part of it, right? So.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. You seem, I'm just kind of watching you here today and how you've been interacting with people. What's it like being on the boat with you during the day out there doing some fishing?
I'm pretty much the same way as you see me here at the booth. I like to talk, chat. People have questions. I encourage you to ask questions, because we all started, whether you take it or not, we all started as bass fishermen. That's how everybody started. It's true. Everybody
we're all reformed bass fishermen. Is that what you're saying?
That's how we all started. So I go out, I tell them what I'm going to do. And a lot of clients are like, hey, why are you using that paddle? I'll tell them this is our morning rig, this is the way it works, and things like that. They'll talk about gear, and I'll talk about weather systems. And a lot of the times, believe it or not, they'll see the fish hawk screen and they'll see the probe and they're like, is that an underwater camera? That's probably one of our number one questions. Like, I'm like,
what
no,
is that thing?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you guys hear that a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's actually your speed and temperature probe. That helps us dial in the fish. So your sonar up top says you're doing 2.4 or 2.8, but at the bottom, your meat rig could be spinning at 1.5. And unfortunately, you're not going to catch fish that day. You're going to have streakers, people running away, like the fish running away from it. And it's going to be a horrible day on the water.
I just tell people it's just like a spy balloon, but it's underwater, sit up in the air.
Don't shoot it down. Yeah.
So now's a bad time to go for a hot air balloon, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Sergio, I know this probably isn't the only partnership you have. Is there anybody else that you want to talk about before we let you?
Yeah, I work with our Torpedo. So we use a lot of their swivels. They're really good, easy to handle.
Weighted steel seems to be coming on strong.
Weighted steel.
Every port, yeah.
You run weighted steel down the chute. It's great. It doesn't kink. 100 feet out, 20 feet down. It's really easy math, right? It works good. You have that fluctuation because it acts like a whip, so it's in and out at different depths, which then helps trigger bites. Right. All of our wire divers are Torpedo 19 strand because it's been proven time after time that it stays strong, doesn't fall apart. So we use a lot of Torpedo stuff as well. That's one of our big things. I work closely with Powell Castings from Canada. They make their cannonballs, and I use their Titan series. So we use the 18-pound balls. Mm-hmm. So when we're fishing deep, we want to make sure our blowback is completely minimized, especially down deep waters. Right. What you want to do.
Yeah, you got to get down there. You need some heavy weight.
100%, because the last thing you want is you want to be because we've actually caught fish 230 feet down, and down there's a whole different ball game. So that's when you want to use a short lead, really heavy ball, and you want to stay nice and close because
Stay vertical.
100%.
People want to get a hold of you, maybe ask some questions, or maybe even book a charter. What's the best way for them to reach you?
If you guys go to our website at trollingrealdeepsportfishing.com, we have a contact form there. My phone number's there. If you find us on Facebook at Trolling Real Deep Sport Fishing, usually you can send a message or message me on there, and I have no problems answering. I pretty much answer questions. You find us on Instagram. You can find us doing daily updates on TikTok and Instagram of how that trip went.
Our first TikTok captain.
There you go.
Actually, it's
Look
funny.
at him. He doesn't have gray hair.
I know. He actually has hair. So that's
He has
even.
hair, it's not gray.
Yeah.
My kids aren't that old yet. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. Well, you'll get there. Yeah.
Well, I'll get
God
there,
willing,
I'll
you'll
get
get there. Yeah.
So
Very good. Sergio, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Taking some time out to come talk.
problem.
This is fun. Fun meeting you and fun having you on the show.
I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thanks, man.
much.